Will the meeting please come to order? Will all members of the council, as well as the public, please rise for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. The invocation this evening will be offered by Pastor Veron G. Carter of First Wesleyan Church, the guest of Councilmember Brett Withers.
Let's pray. Dear Lord, we gather together today to ask you for your wisdom, your direction. We thank you for this great city, the prosperity that we've seen, the unity that we've seen. We thank you for the forward progress, and we know it's only because you've blessed this city. And so, Lord, I pray over each councilman and councilwoman here today. I pray that you would give them insight. May they tap into your heart. I pray for this city. I pray for every first and emergency responder. I pray for every business, every community group, every business, every person, every resident. Lord, every church, every house of worship, every organization that seeks to do your will. I pray that as we discuss today, you would be right here and present, that you would lead us, that you would guide us into all that you have for the great city of Nashville. It's in your name, Jesus, we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Without objection, we'll suspend the calling of the roll and ask the clerk to record the names of those members present throughout the meeting. Is there a motion for adoption of the minutes of the meeting of November 21st, 2017? Without objection, the minutes of that meeting will stand approved as written. Madam Clerk, are there any messages from the mayor?
No, Mr. Vice Mayor. There are no messages from the mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We now move to elections and confirmations. Is there a report from the Rules, Confirmations, and Public Elections Committee? Councilor Haywood.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. And we do have a report. We have from the Elections and Confirmation Committee, we have the appointment of Ms. Susan Wright for the CATV Special Committee. Ms. Wright will fill the unexpired term of Mr. Tyson Draper. And after interviewing her, we voted 8 for and 0 against, so I move for confirmation.
You've heard the motion for confirmation of Ms. Susan Wright to the CATV Special Committee. It's been properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Councilor Haywood.
Okay, next we have the Convention Center Commission, the reappointment of Ms. Erwin Fisher for a term expiring December the 2nd of 2021. We took a vote, and the vote revealed 8 for and 0 against, and I move for confirmation.
You've heard the motion for confirmation of Ms. Erwin Fisher to the Convention Center Commission. It's been properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Next, we have Mr. Chris Farrell, and that's for the Metropolitan Housing Trust Fund Commission. And this reappointment of Mr. Farrell is for a term expiring September the 17th of 2022. We interviewed him and voted 8 for and 0 against, and I move for confirmation.
You've heard the motion for confirmation of Mr. Chris Farrell to the Metropolitan Housing Trust Fund Commission. It's been properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Councilor Haywood.
Next, we interviewed the Committee for Stormwater Management, and we interviewed Mr. Roy Dale for a reappointment, and we also interviewed Ms. Anna Maddox for a reappointment, and found that they were both very capable. However, we were seeking more information that has been requested by our constituents, and we took it to a vote, and we had 5 in favor of a deferral and 3 noes in terms of the referral. So we were looking at a 1-meeting deferral for Mr. Roy Dale for the Stormwater Management Committee and Ms. Anna Maddox. a one-meeting deferral.
There's a motion to defer the nominations of Mr. Roy Dale and Ms. Anna Maddox to the Stormwater Management Committee. Councilman Glover. It's been properly seconded. Councilman Glover.
Yeah, thank you, Vice Mayor. So, Mr. Jameson, because the committee is deferred, is this Rule 24? It is Rule 24?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Vice Mayor.
No one else seeking recognition. There's a motion to defer one meeting. It's properly seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Councilor
Okay,
Haywood.
next, Vice Mayor, we have the Transportation Licensing Commission, and we have the appointment of Ms. Sarah Lingo for a term expiring October the 20th of 2019, and the appointment of Ms. Jessica Powell for a term expiring October the 10th of 2018. Now, Ms. Powell will fill the unexpired term of Ms. Rhonda Marco. And we took both of them to vote, and we voted 7-4 and 0 against. And I would like to move for both of their confirmations.
You've heard the motion for confirmation of Ms. Sarah Lingo and Ms. Jessica Powell to the Transportation Licensing Commission. It's been properly seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you,
Thank you.
Council Lady. We would like to recognize those citizens who were confirmed tonight. So if you will please stand as I call your name and remain standing until all have been introduced. To the CATV Special Committee, Ms. Susan Wright. To the Convention Center Commission, Ms. Irwin Fisher. To the Metropolitan Housing Trust Fund Commission, Mr. Chris Farrell. And to the Transportation Licensing Commission, Ms. Sarah Lingo and Ms. Jessica Powell. On behalf of the City of Nashville, the entire Metro Council, we would like to thank you for your willingness to serve and volunteer your time and expertise on behalf of your city. Thank you very much.
Notice of the first reading, there are 4 bills on first reading that have to be pulled and substituted.
Heard that that was the case. I haven't looked to see.
I'll just make a list. To what? Okay. Okay.
No, I got it.
Okay.
Brent. I got it. I have it. Thank you, council members.
Here we go.
There is one further announcement. On the 28th of November, Judge Angelita Blackshear Dalton signed a letter to myself and the mayor indicating that she had been appointed to succeed Judge J. Randall Wyatt in Division 2. And that her resignation from General Sessions Court Division 3 would take effect Thursday, November 30th, 2017. That creates an opening in that court, which the council is obligated to fill. Nominations can be made by members of the public or the council in writing to the Office of the Metropolitan Clerk no later than Tuesday, December 12th at 4 p.m. No later than Tuesday, December 12th at 4 p.m. Madam Clerk, is that correct?
Yes.
That is correct. The election will take place January 2nd at our regularly scheduled council meeting. I'm going to, because we have no committee meetings on the 1st and we'll be very busy on the 2nd. Council Lady Haywood, you might consider calling a special meeting, if necessary, of the Rules Committee to review the eligibility of any candidates for that office before the 2nd. Thank you. If there are any questions about that from members of the public or the council, you should contact the Metro Clerk's office. Thank you. That brings us to bills on public hearing. BL 2017-916, Councilman Hastings. Approved by the Planning Commission 7-0. Changes 0.27 acres from CL to MULA zoning for property located at 2006 South Hamilton Road. Councilman Hastings.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would like to open the public hearing, please.
Is this one that needs to be deferred?
This one needs to be deferred.
There's a motion to defer to the next public hearing. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-921, Councilman Hastings, approved by the Planning Commission 7-0. Changes 0.29 acres from RS10 to OR20A zoning for property located at 2000 South Hamilton Road. Councilman Hastings.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. We'd like to defer this one as well.
There's a motion to defer one meeting. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-931, Council Lady Weiner. Approved with conditions, disapproved without by the Planning Commission, 7-0. Changes 2.87 acres from R15 to SP zoning for property located at 7341 Charlotte Pike to permit up to 27 multifamily units. Council Lady Weiner.
Move to open the public hearing, please.
All those in favor of BL 2017-931, please raise your hands. Those opposed? Seeing none opposed, those in favor wish to speak, declare the public hearing closed. Council Lady Weiner.
Move approval.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Substitute BL 2017-937, Councilman Schulman. It's been referred to the Planning Commission. Amends the Metro Code to establish regulations regarding short-term rental properties and to establish distinct land uses for short-term rental property owner-occupied and short-term rental property non-owner occupied. Councilman Schulman.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I would move to defer the public hearing until the first meeting in January.
There's a motion to defer to the first meeting in January. It's properly seconded. Council Lady Huesa.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So there have been some issues raised about my having a conflict in the interest of short-term rental matters before the council. I do not believe that that is true. However, I'm working with Mr. Jamison to reach a final decision on that question. So tonight, I'm abstaining out of an abundance of caution. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Roberts, would you like to be marked as abstaining? Madam Clerk, if it's all right, I see no one else seeking recognition. If you would mark Council Lady Hueso and Council Lady Roberts as abstaining. Otherwise, all in favor of a deferral to the January public hearing?
Aye.
Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Councilman Schulman. BL 2017-945, Councilman Hastings. Approved with conditions, disapproved without by the Planning Commission, 8-0. Changes 0.17 acres from RS5 to R6 zoning for property located at 130 Fern Avenue. Councilman Hastings. I'm sorry, there you go. Hold on just a second. There you go.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to open the public hearing, please.
All those in favor of BL 2017-945, please raise your hands. Those opposed? Seeing none opposed, do those in favor wish to speak? Declare the public hearing closed. Councilman Hastings.
Yes, sir. Mr. Vice Mayor would like to move for approval.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-946, Councilman Hastings. Changes approved by the Planning Commission, 10-0. Changes 1.02 acres from R8 to RM20A, zoning for property located at West Trinity Lane, unnumbered, west of Old Buena Vista Road. Councilman Hastings. Oh, there you go. I'm sorry.
All right. Thank you, Mr. President. We'd like to open up the public hearing, please.
All those in favor of BL 2017-946, please raise your hands. Those opposed? Seeing none opposed, do those in favor wish to speak? Declare the public hearing closed. Councilman Hastings.
Yes, sir. We'd like to move for approval.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Bill 2017-961, Councilman Sledge, approved with conditions, disapproved without by the Planning Commission 7 and 0. Changes changes 0.7 acres from R6 to SV zoning for properties located at 504 and 506 Southgate Avenue to permit up to 9 multifamily residential units. Councilman Sledge.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I move to open the public hearing, please.
All those in favor of Bill 2017-961, please raise your hands. Those opposed? Seeing none on either side, declare the public hearing closed. Councilman Sledge.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I move approval.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BO 2017-962, Councilman Roten, approved with conditions, disapproved without by the Planning Commission 6 and 0. Amends 1.91 acres of property located at 5055 Old Hickory Boulevard and a portion of property at 5045 Old Hickory Boulevard to permit a restaurant and add an access point. Councilman Roten.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Move to open the public hearing.
All those in favor of BL 2017-962, please raise your hands. Those opposed? Seeing none opposed, if those in favor wish to speak, declare the public hearing closed. Councilman Roten.
Move approval.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-963, Councilman Hastings, approved by the Planning Commission 6 and 0. Changes 9.7 acres from IWD to MUG zoning for property located at Athens Way unnumbered at the corner of Athens Way and Great Circle Road. Councilman Hastings.
Thank you, Mr. President. We'd like to open up the public hearing.
All those in favor of BL 2017-963, please raise your hands. Those opposed? Seeing none opposed, those in favor wish to speak, declare the public hearing closed. Councilman Hastings.
We'd like to move for approval.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-964, Councilman Hastings, approved by the Planning Commission 6 and 0. Changes 4.86 acres from IWD to MUG zoning for property located at 300 Great Circle Road. Councilman Hastings.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. We'd like to open the public hearing.
Would all those in favor of BL 2017-964 please raise your hands? Those opposed? Seeing none opposed, do those in favor wish to speak? Declare the public hearing closed. Councilman Hastings.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. We'd like to move for approval.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-965, Councilman Kendall, approved with conditions, disapproved without by the Planning Commission 6 and 0. Changes 1.58 acres from OR20 and R6 zoning to SP zoning for property located at 301, 303, and 305 Clay Street, 401 and 405 Dominican Drive, 1918, 1920, 1922, and 1924 4th Avenue North to permit a hotel. Councilman Kendall.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to open public hearing.
All those in favor of BL 2017-965, please raise your hands. Those opposed? Seeing none opposed, do those in favor wish to speak? Declare the public hearing closed. Councilman Kendall.
Move approval.
Councilman Roten.
Staying on.
Okay, there we go. There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BO 2017-966, Councilman Scott Davis, approved by the Planning Commission 8 and 0. Changes 4.5 acres from RS5 to R6 zoning for various properties located west of Rosedale Avenue. Councilman Scott Davis.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to withdraw the bill, please.
That bill is withdrawn. BL 2017.
Well, wrong, I'm sorry. I apologize. Different bill. That was the next one. I apologize.
I'm sorry?
That one I do not want to withdraw. It's the one after that.
All right.
I'd open public hearing.
Are you withdrawing your motion to your request to withdraw?
Yes, sir.
Is there objection to withdrawing the withdrawal? No, seeing no objection. BL 2000. I've already read the caption. Should we open the public hearing?
Please.
All those in favor of BL 2017? You gave somebody a fright, I'm afraid.
I apologize.
All those in favor of BL 2017-966, please raise your hands. Those opposed? Seeing none on either side, Declare the public hearing closed. Councilman Davis.
Move for approval, please.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-967, Councilman Bednang, approved by the Planning Commission 6-0. Changes 1.87 acres from AR2A to CL zoning for property located at 6804 Nolensville Pike. Councilman Bednang.
Yeah, Vice Mayor, I move to open the public hearing.
All those in favor of BL 2017-967, please raise your hands. Those opposed? I didn't see any, did you? Seeing none on either side, declare the public hearing closed. Councilman Bednang.
I move to approve.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-969, Council Lady Roberts, approved with conditions, disapproved without by the Planning Commission 6-0. Changes 0.25 acres from R8 to SP zoning for property located at 6006 O'Brien Avenue to permit up to 4 multifamily residential units. Council Lady Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to open the public hearing, please.
All those in favor of BL 2017-969, please raise your hands. Those opposed? Seeing none opposed, those in favor wish to speak? Declare the public hearing closed. I'm sorry, I skipped over one.
I'd like to move for approval.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. I skipped over one. My apologies. BL 2017-968, Councilman Potts. Approved with conditions, disapproved without by the Planning Commission 6-0. Changes 0.44 acres from R6 to SP zoning for property located at 4717 Humber Drive to permit up to 7 multifamily residential units. Councilman Potts.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I move to open the public hearing.
All those in favor of BL 2017-968, please raise your hands. Those in favor, those opposed? Seeing none opposed, those in favor wish to speak. Declare the public hearing closed. Councilman Potts.
Move approval.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-970, Councilman Withers. Approved with conditions, disapproved without by the Planning Commission 6-0. Changes 0.14 acres from R6 to SP zoning for properties located at 2044, 2046, and 2046B Straightway Avenue to permit a 2-family residential unit. Councilman Withers.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to open the public hearing, please.
All those in favor of BL 2017-970, please raise your hands. Those opposed? Seeing none opposed, those in favor wish to speak. Declare the public hearing closed. Councilman Withers.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to move approval.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-971, Councilman Bednang. Approved with conditions, disapproved without by the Planning Commission 8-0. Changes 22.03 acres from AR2A to SP zoning for property located at 6424 and 6434 Pettus Road, and a portion of property located at 6444 Pettus Road and Nolensville Road unnumbered to permit a maximum of 40 single-family residential units and 130 multifamily residential units. Councilman Bednang.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I move to open the public hearing, please.
All those in favor of BL 2017-971, please raise your hands. Those opposed? Seeing none, declare the public. Do those in favor wish to speak? Declare the public hearing closed. Councilman Bednang.
I move to approve, please.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-972, Councilman Kendall. Approved by the Planning Commission 6-0. Changes 0.14 acres from RS5 to R6A zoning for property located at 750 22nd Avenue North. Councilman Kendall.
I'd open public hearing, please.
All those in favor of BL 2017-972, please raise your hands. Those opposed? Seeing none on either side, declare the public hearing closed. Councilman Kendall.
Move approval.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-973, Councilman Kendall. Approved by the Planning Commission 6-0. Changes 0.14 acres from RS5 to R6A zoning for property located at 746 22nd Avenue North. Councilman Kendall.
I'd like to open the public hearing, please.
All those in favor of Bill 2017-973, please raise your hands. Those opposed? Seeing none on either side, declare the public hearing closed. Councilman Kendall.
Move approval.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Bill 2017-974, Councilman Scott Davis. Approved by the Planning Commission 6-0. Changes 0.68 acres from RS5 to RM9A zoning for property located at 1308 Montgomery Avenue. Councilman Scott Davis.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. And this is the right one. I'd like to withdraw, please.
That bill is withdrawn. BL 2017-975, Councilman Bedney. Approved by the Planning Commission 6-0. Changes 23.08 acres from SP to AR2A zoning for property located at 7724 Old Burkett Road. Councilman Bedney.
Vice Mayor, I wish to move a substitute.
There is a motion to substitute. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. You're on your bill as substituted.
I'd like to defer to the next public hearing.
There's a motion to defer to the January public hearing. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Bill 2017-976, Councilman O'Connell. Approved with conditions, disapproved without. By the Planning Commission 8-0. Changes 1.19 acres from CF and ORI to SP zoning for properties located at 808 and 812 19th Avenue South and 1815 Division Street to permit a maximum of 420 multifamily residential units and a maximum of 24,000 square feet of non-residential units. Councilman O'Connell.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to open the public hearing, please.
There's a motion. I'm sorry. All those in favor of BL 2017-976, please raise your hands. Those opposed? Okay. Those in favor, please come forward. Please state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes each to speak.
Vice Mayor Briley, members of the council, my name is David Earnhardt, and I represent Akara Partners, located at 640 North LaSalle Street in Chicago, Illinois. We are the primary sponsors of the SP applicant 1815 Division Street, LLC. As a firm, we focus on dense urban infill and transit-oriented properties. We primarily develop multifamily apartment buildings and hotels and are excited to be working in Nashville. Beyond complying with the guidelines set forth in the Nashville Next Plan, we believe that this proposed project aligns with the spirit and the intent of the Nashville Next Plan as well. It includes 420 apartment units, 445 parking spaces, bicycle parking for every unit. To accommodate the challenges that are often created by the increased density and intensity of use, we've worked with Metro Planning and Public Works departments to reinforce the energy of the Midtown neighborhood, to create an appropriate building massing, and to provide adequate infrastructure surrounding the street. As urban developers, we understand the value of a vibrant street life. To that end, the proposed project includes extensive street-level retail. We've also provided approximately 19 feet of clear sidewalk along 19th Avenue South, which will allow for public bicycle parking and outdoor dining. The sidewalk will culminate in a wider entry plaza at the intersection of Division Street and 19th Avenue South. At 20 stories, the building has been designed as a classic podium and tower with retail and parking uses at the 7-story base and residences in the remaining 13 stories. The amenities for this project will be located at floors 2 through 4, allowing us to conceal the parking garage from street view and promote an active street presence. Additional screening will be installed along 19th Avenue South and Division Street to further obscure parking. We've maintained 2 lanes of traffic with the 2 parking aisles at 19th Avenue South and have further agreed to increase the width of the alley between 18th and 19th Avenues by an additional 5 feet. Finally, we will comply with the current requirements for affordable housing or workforce housing, and we have engaged the Mayor's Office for Housing for enrollment in the Housing Incentive Pilot Program. It appears at this point that this will total more than 50 apartment units for workforce housing. Thanks to the efforts from Councilman Freddie O'Connell, from the Metro Planning staff, and the Public Works Department, this project was recommended for approval and further recommended for approval by the Metro Planning Commission at its hearing on October 26th, 2017. Thank you.
Seeing no one else in support. Anyone in opposition, please come up. Please state your name and address. Well, thank you.
Hello, my name is Steve Brady. I live at 807 18th Avenue South, and I live in the buildings here. If you look at the plot that was on the letter that was sent, it's the numbers that are the C numbers there. I live in that building there, so I'm across the alley from where this proposed development is going to be. I have some serious concerns about this development, mostly because basically at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, Division, which is right there at 19th, is basically a parking lot already. If you add 420 or plus more cars to that area, you're going to have a major traffic jam in that area. And the only way we can enter our place is to come in through the alley right there. So basically, we can't afford to have any damage or any blockages to that alley, or we can't get into our facility right there. So I also have concerns about the water pressure. It's already low. I'm on the 4th story of this complex here at 807 18th. I'm not sure if they've done any water studies on that. Also the sewage, we have issues with the sewer, so I don't know if they've done studies on that. And then mainly the traffic is what I'm most concerned about there. And also, it says it was approved with conditions. I'm just wondering what those conditions are and whether or not we can find out what they are. So that's pretty much all I have to say about that.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Anyone else in opposition? Seeing none, declare the public hearing. Oh, come on up. Sorry.
Hi, my name is Matt Byron. I'm also a resident in the same condo unit at 807 18th Avenue South. I do not oppose the rezoning or building of the structure. I actually oppose some conditions that were put forth on the rezoning, and that's specifically to the light blocking facades that will be used. I think the wording of the bill makes it sound like that the facades can only be, or that they are only required from basically public viewable areas. As a resident who lives on the backside with a unit facing directly towards this new structure that will be eye level with a parking garage, I would request that we have light blocking facades also on the backside of the parking structure so that we do not have lights coming directly into our condo unit. That's the only portion that I oppose.
Thank you, sir. Seeing no one else, Councilman O'Connell. I'll declare the public hearing closed. Councilman O'Connell.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I will definitely follow up with everybody who spoke in opposition, but I think having spoken with a number of constituents also in that area, and confident that the developer can work with us on some of these things, I'd like to move approval.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-977, Council Lady Weiner, approved with conditions, disapproved without by the Planning Commission, 8 and 0. Changes 4.72 acres from RM20 to SP zoning for properties located at 7447, 7483, 7487, and 7501 Highway 70 South to permit up to 72 multifamily units with appropriate design standards. Council Lady Weiner.
I'd like to move the substitute.
There's a motion to substitute. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
I would now like to defer this until the first public hearing in January due to a typo.
I'm sorry? There's a motion to defer to the first meeting in January. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. I didn't catch what you meant by typo. What you said. Okay. All right. I didn't understand you there, but he explained. Bill 2017-978, Council Lady Weiner, approved with conditions, disapproved without by the Planning Commission, 8 and 0. Changes 3.57 acres from ON to SP zoning for properties located at 7505, 7513, and 7527 Highway 70 South to permit general office, medical office, and personal instruction uses. Council Lady Weiner.
I'd like to defer this until the first public hearing in January.
There's a
for
motion to
typo.
defer to the January public hearing. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. 2017-979, Council Lady Weiner. Approved by the Planning Commission, 8 and 0. cancels 8.29 acres of the Bellevue Commercial Planned Unit Development Overlay District for properties located at 7477, 7483, 7487, 7501, 7505, 7513, and 7527 Highway 70 South. Councilor Weiner.
I'd like to defer this until the first public hearing in January.
There's a motion to defer to the January public hearing. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-980, Councilman Bedney, approved by the Planning Commission 7-0. Amends the Metro Code regarding multifamily units associated with artisan manufacturing. Councilman Bedney.
Yeah, Vice Mayor, I move to open the public hearing, please.
All those in favor of BL 2017-980, please raise your hands. Those opposed? Motion, seeing none on either side, declare the public hearing closed. Councilman Bedney.
I move to approve.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Bill 2017-981, Councilman Withers. Amends the Metro Code to establish distinct land uses for short-term rental property, owner-occupied, and short-term rental property not owner-occupied, and establishing a renewal allowance for existing permitted uses. Councilman Withers.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I would like to defer this bill to the first first meeting in January for the public hearing in January.
There's a motion to defer to the first public hearing. It's been properly seconded based on the prior comments. Madam Clerk, if you could mark Council Lady Hueso and Council Lady Roberts abstaining. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-982, Councilman Withers, amends the Metro Code regarding short-term rental property owner-occupied uses in two-family dwellings. Councilman Withers.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Similarly, I would like to request to defer this bill to the public hearing in January as well.
There's a motion to defer to the January public hearing. Council Lady Hueso and Council Lady Roberts are requesting to abstain. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to the consent agenda. Following items are on the consent agenda: RS 2017-976 through 985. 976 through 985. Are you seeking recognition, Councilor Dowell? 966 is already off the consent. Are you seeking recognition, Councilor Hart? If you'll bear with me for a moment, then. Yes, sir.
I would like to pull 1019 as well.
Excuse me? Which one?
1019. Oh,
That's
sorry.
that's an ordinance on first reading.
I apologize.
No problem. BL 2017, I'm sorry, RS 2017-976, Freeman, Vercher, and Elrod. Approves an agreement between the United States Department of the Army and the Department of Water and Sewerage Services for the Mill Creek Flood Risk Management Project. RS 2017-977, O'Connell, Vercher, and Roten. Appropriates $50,000 for a grant contract between Nashville Public Library and Oasis Center Incorporated to provide services that help youth grow, thrive, and create positive change in their lives and our community. RS 2017-978, O'Connell, Vercher, and Roten. Appropriates $250,000 through a grant contract between the Nashville Public Library and Oasis Center Incorporated to provide college access services for the Nashville Scholars Program. RS 2017-979, Withers and Roten. Approves a license agreement between the Board of Parks and Recreation and the United States Department of Army to enter certain parks for limited training purposes. RS 2017-980, Vercher and Roberts. Approves a Stop Fatality Review Technical Assistance Grant from the Tennessee Department of Finance and Administration to the Office of Family Safety to promote a coordinated multidisciplinary approach to improving the criminal justice system's response to sexual assault, domestic violence, dating violence, and stalking crimes. RS 2017-981, Vercher and Roberts. Approves a grant from the Tennessee Emergency Management Agency to the Office of Emergency Management to subsidize the emergency management program. RS 2017-982, Vercher and Roberts. Approves a Sheriff's Alcohol Awareness for Everyone grant from the Tennessee Department of Safety and Homeland Security to the Davidson County Sheriff's Office to undertake alcohol countermeasures Highway Safety Projects, RS 2017-983. Council Lady Vercher and Councilman Withers. Approves amendment to a grant from the Tennessee Department of Labor and Workforce Development to the Nashville Career Advancement Center to use in establishing consolidated business programs and services. RS 2017-984. Council Lady Mina Johnson, Council Lady Haywood. Confirms the reappointment of Erwin Fisher to the Board of Directors of the Convention Center Authority. RS 2017-985. Council Lady Allen, Council Lady Murphy. Recognizes St. Bernard Academy as a 2017 Blue Ribbon Exemplary High Performing School. Those items are on the consent agenda. Committee reports. Council Lady Vercher.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Budget and Finance recommended approval, 12-4, 0 against, for RS 2017-976, 977, 978, and 980 through 983.
Thank you, Council Lady. Councilman Roten, Parks, Library, and Recreation.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. The Parks, Library, and Recreation Committee approved resolutions 2017-977, 978, 979, 8 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Withers, Personnel, Public Information, Human Relations, Housing.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. The Personnel, Public Information, Human Relations, and Housing Committee met this afternoon and considered Resolution RS 2017-983 and recommended approval 5-4-0 against.
Council A. Roberts, Public Safety.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Public Safety Beer and Regulated Beverages approved 980, 981, and 982, 5 in favor and 0 against.
Councilman Elrod.
Public Works recommended approval of Resolution 976, 9 in favor, 0 against.
Council Lady Haywood.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. We considered Resolution RS 2017-985, and we approved it 7-4 and 0 against. And also Bill 2017-986, and we approved it 8-4 and 0 against.
Thank you, Council. And
with all the resolutions in and all have been considered and all reports are in, and I move that they all be approved at this time.
There's a motion to approve the consent agenda. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. RS 2017-966, Vercher, Wiener, and Murphy authorizes the employment of Leaf, Cabraser, Hyman, and Bernstein, LLP, as special counsel to investigate claims against manufacturers and distributors of prescription opioids that have wrongfully caused drug addiction in Davidson County. Councilor Vercher.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I move to defer, re-refer back to Budget and Finance and refer to the Health, Hospital, and Social Service Committee, and I'd like to provide a brief explanation.
Floor shows.
Beyond the issue of equity that had been raised and questions, other parameters regarding this resolution, and just more recently, seconds ago, as a question came to me as this pamphlet was distributed on our desk, questions such as the fee structure, the law firm representing, is the law firm representing other states, representing other pharmaceuticals, understanding of the MDL fee recovery, why aren't all cities in the MDL? If recovery is $1 billion, what is the fee? What does Metro get? How does this impact our budget overall? What kind of partner is Mr. Hutchison? Equity, capital, or just a limited partner? What is shareholder? Define Mr. Hutchison's partnership. So as you can see, we still have a myriad of questions that need to be answered. And this deferral is not a deferral against the administration. This deferral does not say that we are not against the opioid crisis. This deferral just simply states that we as legislators, we want to vet this more. We want to understand the magnitude of this resolution. And so that we're clear, this can potentially be the largest thing that we as a body vote on for our term. This resolution, the litigation, more than likely will not occur under our reign. However, other council members, another councilmanic body will have to deal with the repercussions of the decisions that we make. And because of that, I ask that you support the deferral to re-refer it back to Budget and Finance and refer it to Health and Hospital and Social Services Committee.
Is there a second? Councilman Scott Davis.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. This is a question on, I have some questions for Mr. Cooper, Metro Legal, and maybe a couple follow-up questions for Ms. Attorney Jamison. All right. Just for clarification, if this bill were deferred tonight, will the administration reissue an RFP, another RFP?
No, we have spent months on this issue and working through the RFQ process and the responses and follow-ups. As you can see from the letter from Leif Cabraser today, the panel on multi-district litigation just today consolidated dozens of these cases. So the litigation is moving forward, and the risk we run is every day that we wait, we run the risk of missing the train. So we would not entertain reissuing an RFQ.
All right. Next, my next question, Attorney Jamison or Attorney Cooper, you both can answer. And I don't want to keep speaking to ifs, but it's very important that we get a clear understanding, and for the folks back at home who are watching, okay? If the legislation were deferred, and if the RFP was not reissued, Mr. Jamison, can the Metro Council as a body re-refer the RFP themselves?
No, that's an administrative determination through procurement.
And last but not least, and Mr. Cooper, how was the RFP sent out? And it was a list of, I don't want to misquote you, a list of 10 firms that are on the list, or how was it sent out?
Well, it was actually 11. The way this type of litigation typically works is plaintiffs' firms identify the issue and they proactively contact prospective plaintiffs, cities, to let them know about this issue and offer their services to represent the governments on a contingency fee basis. So pretty much everyone in this space that does this type of litigation has been aware of this issue and has been contacting cities all over the country. We received inquiries from civil firms, and so that got us exploring the issue and trying to determine whether we might have a potential claim. We sent it to 11 firms nationally that we know do this type of mass tort litigation and have the financial capacity to take on such litigation where they have no guarantee of being paid, and when they do get paid, it's often years later. So it was 11 different firms that we sent the RFQ to. We received responses from 5.
And I have just one more comment. Previously, you know, some of us were contacted by one of the local partners here, and they expressed to us that they do have, and I'm not a lawyer, but they do have a partner that is an African-American male in their California office who has worked on significant legislation. He was the one that did the $1 billion settlement lawsuit when they sued Best Buy on behalf of African-American and Latinos and women for their extreme discrimination process. Now, I'm not telling people how to vote on this, you know, but it seems to me that we have to address some of our procurement issues with the city. And I hate to put people in a bind here, but, you know, no matter how you go, we still love you. But please work with us so that we don't get in a quandary like this again. Thank you.
Councilman Mendez.
I'll try to expedite this as much as possible. I'm going to say some things, and if Mr. Cooper disagrees, I'm probably just going to ask him to let me know. First of all, so multi-district litigation it's a formal term in federal litigation, MDL, and what happens is when there's a bunch of lawsuits all over the country, they get consolidated, and the federal court appoints who the lead lawyers are going to be and usually appoints a committee of lawyers to represent the whole group of plaintiffs, right? And when that happens, while the committee is supposed to represent all the interests of all the plaintiffs, it is valuable to have your lawyer on the committee, right? And so the time urgency, as I understand it, is the cases have just been consolidated, and so the time for splitting up the pie about who's going to be on the committee for the council is now, right? My sense is that there are definitely issues with procurement that this body has laid out, and we need to address those. But this firm, this is not litigation that, I dare say none of the lawyers who are in the council could dream of taking a case like this. You have to front millions of dollars of expenses usually in order to get to a resolution on a case like this, right, Mr. Jameson, Mr. Cooper? And the number of law firms in the nation can handle this competently and be expected to have a seat at the table in a multi-district litigation is extraordinarily narrow. And we ran a comprehensive process to figure out who would both have the skill set, a Nashville touch, and the capacity to be taken seriously in the national litigation, to have Nashville having a seat at the table at that MDL committee council. And for all those reasons, I think we should go ahead and approve this. We have procurement issues we need to address. I think that message is loud and clear, but we shouldn't risk Nashville having a material seat at the table with a well-recognized, successful national law firm that does this. So I think we should vote in favor of moving forward with this now.
Councilman Bednarik.
Yeah, I'm going to ask that we don't defer this legislation and we approve it. From 2000 to 2015, 500,000 people died of an opioid overdose. Every day, 91 people died, including the mayor's son. So this is important. This is close to us. We need to realize that there is an urgency. There is an emergency. We need to find a way to start taking care of these people in our community that need rehab. They need to have a way to have treatment, and they won't get that treatment unless funding is available for them. So please, let's not wait anymore. Let's support this. Let's sign this legislation. Let's start fixing things. Thank you.
Councilor Hurt.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I just stand in support of the deferment simply because well, first, I want to say that I support the course of action that the mayor has taken. I just learned of this crisis in such a magnified way at the National League of Cities, where she spoke so eloquently about it. But my problem is the rushing of this, because I understand that the judge is on vacation, and that this actually will not take place until January, when a decision is made. And I would just like to have some clarity and understanding. I think the citizens of Nashville deserve that. I think that for us to make such a very important decision, we want to make sure that we have radical inclusion, and I really appreciate the letters that we've received and the attention that the questions that have been raised have been responded to. But I just need a little bit more understanding and clarity so I can feel good that this body has executed the faith, the trust, and the efforts that we were elected to do. So I agree with what the sponsor has suggested and ask that it be referred back to health and hospitals. We want to take care of the mental health and physical health of our citizens.
Councilor Weiner.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I rise as the face of someone who's had this impact their family directly. Everyone has, and I'm aware, everyone in this room has. The time is now for us to get involved and to stand up and speak to the corporations in a language that they can understand. This is the language they understand, is their bottom line. We have to stand up We have to move forward. Time is of the essence. Just because the judge is on vacation, and I don't know that to be true or not, but if that were the case, we still don't wait until the last minute to pull the trigger and move forward. The opportunity is here now, and I suggest that we take it. Thank you.
Councilman Hastings.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to rise really quickly, and just like Councilwoman Hurt, we had the time of sharing at the National League of Cities, and excuse me, us as legislators, we had no idea about the process of what was sent out. We were made aware by people, individuals, and attorneys that were there that this process was going on. I don't understand, and I will speak on this and just be able to say the system is broken. The system is broken. Nothing should be able to go out of the city that we know nothing about. And when there is a process, especially when the RFP or the RFQ or whatever that we have is going out, it needs to go out considerably to everybody else, even though we may not think the fair thing, it's right. We have to shoot it out the way that we do everything else. We can't eliminate anybody because we fall into a place that where we're eliminating the other people that could play a part into the system. Even if there was a project that they were teaming up with a larger law firm or whoever else that can handle this, we just have to do a better job. Time is out right now. We have failed several times, and I don't know, and I spoke to the mayor and spoke to other officials being able to say our system is broken. Our communication between our two bodies who are supposed to be working together, it's broken. It's not doing what it needs to do to find a just cause to fix life situation for all of our constituents. I know we have to move on. I know we have to figure out an answer for this question. I hate that there's a major sickness in our nation right now, but we got to fix this. And before we do that, I don't want to be back in this place again to where we're uncomfortable with the decisions that we're making because we don't know. I feel spited right now, big time, because it's happening over and over again with the hospital, with everything that's going on. We have to find a better way. And this is the last time with me being able to go forth and being able to throw my support behind something that I know nothing about. All right? Thank you.
Councilman Glover.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Mr. Jamison, let me ask you a question, if I may. I know on tobacco lawsuits, I think that was handled by the state. Am I correct on that? If the state steps in, because, and again, not to not be sensitive of the issue, but is this issue only in Davidson County, or is it a Tennessee, is it a United States issue? And I think the answer is yes, it is.
It's beyond Davidson County, correct.
Okay. So in the event the state steps in and they decide they want to jump on the lawsuit or jump into this and say, the Attorney General says, you know, we're going to sue on behalf of the state, what is the, and I think this is one of the reasons I'm going to support the deferral, because what is the ruling on that? Do they basically trump us? How does that work?
I think because the MDL panel has already initiated this consolidation, there are more than a dozen, I think several dozen of these cases. I don't believe attorneys general have intervened in the majority of those cases in other states. I could be wrong on that. I don't see any indication of expressed interest by the Attorney General of Tennessee to litigate this matter. That could change. If that changes, if he intervenes, I don't know what effect it would have on already advanced litigation, but I would expect they would be reluctant to do so for fear of slowing down what is a very lugubrious process.
Okay, and so let me, if I may, ask the question, or ask a different question, if I may. If we defer this now and we bring it back up and we bring it back into budget and finance to truly understand how the numbers work, what all of this actually means, to where we have a better understanding of it, then and then we pass it the next meeting, maybe this is the right thing to do. But if we pass it the next meeting, what jeopardy do we put the city in by waiting 2 weeks?
I don't know that 2 weeks necessarily jeopardizes it. I know every day matters. I know that this resolution is not actually authorizing the initiation of the litigation. It's authorizing the firm to begin a report that they would then send back to Mr. Cooper as to whether or not it was worthwhile going forward. And the answer may be no, other than hearing that the MDL panel is already engaged as of this morning. I'm not aware of any specific risk that a 2-week deferral poses.
Okay, so then I'm going to ask Mr. Cooper. Mr. Cooper, do we put the city in jeopardy if we wait 2 weeks for it to come back to Budget and Finance, for us to vet this a little more heavily and strongly, to completely understand what it is we're entering into and kind of what the process is going to be?
I mean, as I said earlier, every day that we wait is a day that potentially puts the city further behind in the litigation process. I can't say that 2 weeks will mean that we can never be part, never have a seat at the table, but I do know that a delay would not necessarily be in the city's best interest.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Councilman Hager.
Well, nobody ever asked me about how these work, so I'll go into it. 15, 20 years ago, if you remember the breast implant litigation, I was one of the first lawyers that filed a federal lawsuit here in Nashville, Tennessee, in the Middle District, and I had about $75,000 to $100,000 set aside to pursue that litigation. After about 3 or 4 months, with the vast majority of lawsuits being filed against Dow and Squibb, those cases went down to Birmingham, Alabama in multi-district litigation. And the way that works is, basically when they go to multi-district litigation, those lawsuits that were then pending were taken from the federal court here and sent down to Birmingham, Alabama with a plaintiff liaison counsel that's appointed by several federal judges that know these law firms that can handle these type of lawsuits. As an attorney, then I brought in about 10 or 12 more cases, and I represented those people on that committee. I made several trips to Birmingham, Alabama with Alex Newton Hair Group in Birmingham, which is one of the biggest plaintiffs' law firms in Alabama. And then at that point in time, you go forward until you come to a consensus and agreement, with which Dow and Squibb did during that lawsuit, and several other manufacturers of breast implants. At that point in time, then your clients get a certain portion based on what their conditions were and how much money they had spent for their medical treatment. That's the way they work. And the way this particular firm is working, they're working on a progression scale of how much money they recover. It goes down as the amount that they recover goes up. So, as far as how it works, ask me and I can tell you how it works, because I was involved in it for 2 or 3 years, and that's the way it works.
Councilor Blaylock.
So there is no charge if we move forward to the city, correct?
Correct.
So we're not losing anything.
We're not out of pocket any money. Correct.
Okay. And we are here to go to court about something that is devastating our community. So I really think that if we are interested in how the procurement and other things that are going on, then we should do other legislation instead of deferring a piece of legislation that is really going to affect, Nashville's potential of making, some money at a lawsuit.
Councilor Yamina Johnson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I am not disagreeing that our system or our way of communication have huge room for improvement, such as RFQ. However, in this case, it is a litigation, and this firm administration chose is one of the best firm when it comes to litigation in this field. And by deferring, we are not issuing RFQ. By deferring, we have losing the day to get on and potentially recover or chance to recover or whatever the chance might be. So by deferring, we are losing time. So I understand there are so many questions, but I read lots of information sent from administration about this farm what kind of civil rights work they have been doing and what kind of minority participation this firm is doing. I think this is a very worthy firm. So by deferring, we are not gaining anything. So I am in favor of just approve it. So I hope everybody can get on it. And if you have any further question, let's keep asking the question until we satisfy, but let's not defer it.
Councilman Withers.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I would like to echo the comments of Councilmember Johnson and Councilmember Blaylock. This is a great firm. I mean, looking at this litigation history that this firm has worked on, we have people that we know and have worked alongside here in our own community that have great reputations, have had a lot of success in these matters. And it's a nationwide firm that's done all kinds of civil rights litigation on any number of matters, both as a counsel directly and filing amicus briefs and things of that nature. This is a terrific firm. I know that this council body really is focused on transparency in our government, and I think that's what we were elected to do by our constituents, but sometimes there are limits to that based on time constraints. Sometimes, you know, we have any number of departments in this government that handle the business that we hire them to do, and the law department is working on filing legislation on behalf of the government, which is their job. We don't necessarily need to micromanage everything that every department does for every RFP or RFQ. Not everything that necessarily requires that we know really, really far in advance. Here, what we are being told from the law department, the people that we hire to give us this advice, is that we have already deferred this once, time is running out, we may be left behind, and the citizens that we are all trying to protect, and including Metro General Hospital, which is absorbing some of these losses from dealing with folks who are unfortunately victims of opioid abuse or overdose. You know, these are all things that we're focused on. We have a firm that clearly is capable of handling this work, and I think we need to move forward and not defer it today. All the questions people asked are great questions. We will continue that dialogue. I just don't feel like when you look at the life and death situation that many of our constituents and even our family members are having every day, that this is the particular case that we're going to die on this hill of, you know, what questions do we have? I think we need to go ahead and move on this today. I will be voting no on deferral. If it comes to the floor, I will be voting in favor of the resolution. I hope that everyone else does as well. And please, let's continue the conversation about what procurement looks like. We absolutely need to keep working on equality in our procurement processes. But that doesn't mean that the Metro Council needs to know about every single RFP or RFQ that goes out from every department, because frankly, that's not our job. And we have to focus on supporting our constituents, and that takes a lot of our time. So I'm going to defer to the experts that we hire to do this work, which is the Department of Law. I think they've done a great job of vetting the potential vendors that would serve this, and this is just such a pressing need that we need to move forward today. Thank you.
Councilor Dow.
Thank you. I just want to make a couple of comments. One, I appreciate the law firm providing the information to us, and I was following up on a question that Council Lady Hurt asked. I am familiar with the law firm, so I will agree with you all that they are a reputable law firm. I know they represented us with some stuff with MNPS and our health plans in the past, so I don't have any issue with the law firm and their ability to handle this litigation. But once again, I go back to, I do have an issue with how things are passed through our committees, how many people's questions are answered, the understanding the procurement process and the contracts. We have a lot of new people on this council, and I do know that people out in the public have questions now about contracts, how they're issued. I did not get opportunity to participate in a discussion in Charlotte about the opioid crisis, so my interest was really just understanding what are we getting ourselves into, what does it entail, and so forth. I didn't have an issue with choosing a law firm, but I did want to understand more about the process and also about the contingency. If we do determine to participate in any type of lawsuit, how we negotiate, what type of rate, or how much money they'll receive for their services and so forth. And I think a lot of those little simple questions have the potential to be answered in our committees. And it seems like some of these things now, and it's just been in this term, in my experience, that things that will go through committees my last term that we had an opportunity to discuss, and we could go out and educate it educate our neighbors about what's going on. I don't see that opportunity as much because things go through committees fast. We didn't discuss it. The other thing I just want to say with Councilman Withers, it is our responsibility as council members to have knowledge about RFPs and RFQs, because that is our responsibilities. We're elected to oversee the fiscal part of our city. When people pay their taxes and collect revenue and so forth, that is our responsibility with regard to legislation. So we do have a responsibility to look at these RFPs, look at these RFQs, understand how we're issuing contracts and what we're paying and receiving when we do business for our city. That's our responsibility, and that's each one of our jobs. That's your job. So next term, you need to continue to do that and understand that's your responsibility, because you have to go back out into the public and to explain these things to people. And I'm willing to guess, Ben, if you cannot explain all of this, what the fee structure and all of this is. Now, I've read through it, but I know many of you have not. But I do think that when people do not understand, have questions, and want to vet legislation more, then as a body, whatever it is, whether it's short-term rentals, whether it's rope lighting, whether it's contracts, I do think that unless it's, something urgent or emergent, that we should give them that opportunity to have the conversation and have the dialogue. I think that's a courtesy that we owe each other, whether we agree to it or not. It's just a courtesy that we owe to each other and that we should extend to each other. We may get it, but if they want to talk a little bit more about it and it doesn't cause any problems, I don't see why any of us should have an issue with it. So thank you.
Councilman Swope.
Call the question.
You're the last one. No one else seeking recognition. The motion before the council is to defer passage, to re-refer to Budget and Finance, and to refer for the first time to Health, Hospitals, and Social Services. Is that correct, Councilor Berger? All in favor? Opposed? No. Motion fails. Is there a motion?
That's not on the final ordinance.
You can't do that on a motion to defer. Councilman, is there a motion? There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. Is there anyone seeking recognition on the rules require? There are going to be no, so the rules require a machine vote on this. No one seeking recognition. Madam Clerk, if you'll open the machine. This is a motion to approve. No one seeking recognition. That's late.
You good? Okay.
If you'll close the machine and tally the vote.
30 in favor, 6 against, 4 abstain.
Motion carries. That brings us to bills on introduction and first reading. Without objection, we'll take all those bills together. Is there a second? Fails for lack of seconds. Requires 4.
Rule 35, 4 seconds.
So she has 4, so that means it'll be on the agenda.
Reconsider on the next agenda.
Be on the next agenda. That brings us to bills on introduction and first reading. Madam Clerk, did you record the seconds? Madam Clerk, if you would record the seconds, please raise your hand if you're seconding. Do you okay. The motion was approved.
Leonardo, are you voting?
Madam Clerk? There was a motion to reconsider adoption. A motion to reconsider adoption is governed by Rule 35. You have to have voted with the prevailing side to make the motion. Council Lady Gilmore voted with the prevailing side. She is now moving to reconsider. It requires 4 seconds. If there are 4 seconds, the bill will be placed back on the agenda at the following meeting. Council Lady Gilmore moved. Are there 4 seconds? You can't count as a second. Please hold your hands up so the clerk can record your names. Point of order? Is that a point of order? Councilor Weiner.
Do the seconds have to be on the prevailing
No.
side?
Councilman Roten.
Point of order, can we do a motion to table the motion
No.
to reconsider?
That's out of order. I'm just waiting for Madam Clerk to record the seconds. I think there are 4. If I see Council Lady Hurt, Councilman Davis, Councilman Glover, Councilman Kendall, Councilman Leonardo, Councilman Hastings, and Council Lady Haywood. But we got more than 4. Roll on. That brings us to bills on introduction and first reading. The following items are not on introduction or are not to be taken together. BL 2017-16, 2017 1017, 2017 1019, 2017 1021, 2017 1027, and 2017 1028. Without objection, we'll take all other items on introduction and first reading together. Is there objection? Seeing none, is there a motion? There's a motion and proper second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to BL 2017-1016. Councilman Pulley. An ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County by changing from RM20 to SP zoning on property located at 2041 Overhill Drive at the southeast corner of Hillsborough Pike and Overhill Drive, 0.43 acres to permit 5 multifamily residential units and a medical office use, all of which is described herein. Councilman Pulley. I'm sorry, hold on just a second. I'm looking for you, Councilman. There you go.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would request to suspend the rules to introduce a substitute for the purpose of updating accurate ownership on the sketch page.
There's a motion to suspend the rules. Is there objection? Seeing none.
I would move to introduce a substitute.
There's a motion to substitute. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Now I move to approve the bill as substituted.
There's a motion to approve as substituted. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-1017, Councilman Syracuse, an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, by changing from IWD to SP zoning on a portion of property located at Perimeter Court, unnumbered, approximately 420 feet south of Perimeter Place Drive, 3.61 acres, to permit a hotel, all of which is described herein. Proposal number blah 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 2017 SP -065-001. Blah blah blah. That's about the same thing, isn't it? Councilman Syracuse.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I have a substitute, so I need to move to suspend the rules in order to move the substitute. I don't need to suspend the rules, right?
You do not.
I just need to move the substitute.
There's a motion to substitute. It's properly seconded. All in favor? You're on your bill as substituted.
Thank you. I need to move the bill as substituted. This was just a text amendment to put an address in there. Thank you.
All right. Technical corrections. Motion to approve on first reading is properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-1019, Councilman Bednang. An ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, by changing from AR2A to SP zoning on property located at 14899 Old Hickory Boulevard at the southwest corner of Old Hickory Boulevard and Benzing Road. That's 0.967 acres to permit a grocery store, all of which is described here in proposal number 2017 SP-090-001. Councilman Bednang.
Can you repeat all that? I kind of missed it.
An ordinance to amend.
I'm kidding. I moved the substitute.
Does he require suspension? There's a motion to substitute. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. You're on your bill as substituted.
I move to approve.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Bill 2017-1021, Councilman Scott Davis. An ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County by changing from IWD to RM20A zoning for property located at 851 Cherokee Avenue, approximately 1,900 feet east of Jones Avenue, 0.48 acres, all of which is described herein. Proposal number 2017Z 112 PR-001. Councilman Scott Davis.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to move the substitute.
There's a motion to substitute. Is properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. You're on your bill as substituted.
I'd like to move the bill as substitute.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-1027, Council Lady Lee. An ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Law, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County by changing from AR2A to RS10 zoning on properties located at 12474 and 12478 Old Hickory Boulevard, approximately 610 feet northeast of Murfreesboro Pike, 21.36 acres, all of which is described herein. Proposal number 2016Z 087 PR-001. Council Lady Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I move to substitute.
There's a motion to substitute. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. You're on your bill as substituted.
I move the bill as substituted.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Bill 2017-1028, Councilman Scott Davis. An ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County by changing from RS 7.5 to RM20A zoning for properties located at 627, 629, and 631 East Trinity Lane at the corner of East Trinity Lane and Oakwood Avenue, 1.07 acres, all of which is described herein. Proposal number 2017Z 106 PR-001. Councilman Scott Davis.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like a motion to suspend the rules, please.
There was motion to suspend. Is there objection? Seeing none.
I'd like to move for approval, please.
There's a motion to substitute. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. You're on your bill as substituted.
I'd like to move the bill as substituted.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to bills on second reading. Bill 2017-952, Councilman Mendez, amends the Metro Code to establish additional public contracting and procurement restrictions upon non-employees. Councilman Mendez.
Committee report, please.
Councilor Vercher.
Budget and Finance recommended for as amended, 13-4, 0 against.
Councilman Mendez.
There's an amendment that I'd like to move.
There's a motion to amend. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. You're on your bill as amended.
Move bill as amended for approval.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-953 amends the Metro Code to restrict door-to-door commercial solicitation to daylight hours and to revise eligibility provisions for issuance of a permit. Councilman Withers.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Could I get committee reports, please?
Councilor A. Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Per the request of the sponsor, Public Safety voted 6 in favor, 0 against for the deferral.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to move for a deferral with a brief comment.
Floor is yours.
I just want to let everyone know, I know we've received a couple of really good questions in the last couple of days. This bill was brought to me by constituents who were asking what are the hours when solicitation can occur, and there are no hours limiting when door-to-door solicitation can occur. So that was the genesis of this bill. It's just trying to find what are some reasonable guidelines there. While we were also having discussions about hours, I've also been working with Mr. Jameson and the clerk to update some of the language that is in the requirements, as the clerk's office is responsible for issuing the permits, performing background checks, and sort of supervising that. So if any of my council colleagues have questions about this ordinance or suggestions, I've already incorporated several. For example, there was a suggestion from some industry folks and from discussion about, having ensuring that there are at least some evening hours available. So we are working on language that would allow door-to-door solicitation up to 7 p.m. currently is the suggestion. There are some other suggestions as well. I know Council Member Blaylock had asked about background checks, and we've got information about that. But really, this is just exploring, updating these requirements generally. It's not anyone's intent to make eligibility more restrictive than it currently is. We're just updating some of the language that we have. So if any of my colleagues do have questions or suggestions, please contact Mr. Jameson, and we would look forward to answering those or maybe incorporating those suggestions into the next substitute. And with that, I would like to renew my motion to defer one meeting.
It's a motion to defer. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-983, Councilman Anthony Davis, amends the Metro Code to require certain information for the assessment of economic and community development incentives. Councilman Anthony Davis.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I believe we have a committee report.
Councilman Lady Vircher.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. At the request of the sponsor, Budget and Finance recommended a one-meeting deferral, 13-4-0 against.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. We're making a few more tweaks. We'd like to defer this one meeting.
The motion to defer is properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-984, Hager, Vircher, and Elrod, amends the Metro Code to increase towing and recovery rates. Councilman Hager.
I'm sorry, I was talking.
984, sir. Amends the Metro Code to increase towing. Pick up your mic, sir. Let's get committee reports.
Committee report.
Councilor Vircher.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Budget and Finance recommended a one-meeting deferral, 13-4-0 against.
Councilman Elrod.
Public Works recommended one meeting deferral, 9 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Hager.
Move to defer one meeting, that in the amendment as well.
Did we get your committee report? Did we get your committee report?
5-4-0 against to defer one meeting, including the amendment.
All right. Motion to defer one meeting is properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-985, Leonardo Vircher and others, authorizes the transfer of property located at 1010 Camilla Caldwell Lane from Metro to the Metropolitan Department and Housing Agency for the purpose of constructing affordable and workforce housing. Councilman Leonardo.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilman Mendez.
The Ad Hoc Affordable Housing Committee voted in favor of a substitute and the bill as substituted, 9-4-0 against.
Councilor Vircher.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Budget and Finance recommended approval as substituted, 13-4-0 against.
Councilman Bednang. Councilor Mina Johnson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, Historical voted for approval as substituted, 13 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Leonardo.
At this time, I'd like to move the substitute, please.
There's a motion to substitute. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
I'd like to move for approval on the bill as substituted.
There's a motion to approve as substituted. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-986, Council Lady Haywood, readopts the Metro Code to include supplemental and replacement pages of general and permanent nature enacted on or before August 16th, 2017. I'm sorry, there you go.
Hello.
There you are.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Yes, 986 was referred to the Rules Confirmation and Public Elections Committee, and we voted 7 in approval and 0 against, and I move for approval.
Motion to approve is properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-987. Councilman Roten, Councilman Sledge approves an agreement between the Department of Parks and Recreation and Memphis Basketball LLC to allow parks to participate in youth basketball programs. Councilman Roten.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. The Parks, Library, and Recreation Committee approved 987, 8 in favor and 0 against. And with that committee report, I move approval.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-988, O'Connell, Bednan, Elrod, authorizes 12th Avenue Partners, LLC, to install, construct, and maintain underground and aerial encroachments in the right-of-way located at 306 12th Avenue South. Councilman O'Connell. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilman Bednan. Council Lady Johnson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, Historical voted in favor, 13 for. Planning, Zoning, Historical voted to approve, 13 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Elrod.
Public Works recommend approval, 9 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman O'Connell.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to move approval.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-990, Councilman Roten, Vercher, and others, authorizes the acquisition of right-of-way easements, drainage easements, temporary construction easements, and property rights for purposes of the Dodson Chapel Road sidewalk improvements. Councilman Roten.
Move approval. Committee reports.
Did I skip one of yours, Councilman O'Connell?
You did.
I'll come right back to it.
Okay, thanks.
Councilor Vercher. This is 990.
Oh, thank you, Vice Mayor. I apologize.
No, I
Budget and
skipped one.
Finance recommended approval, 15 for, 0 against.
Council Lady Johnson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, Historical voted to approve, 13 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Elrod.
Public Works recommend approval, 9 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Roten.
Move approval.
This motion to approve is properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-989, O'Connell, Bednay, and Elrod authorizes 7th and Taylor Homeowners Association Incorporated to install, construct, and maintain underground encroachments in the right-of-way located at 701B Taylor Street. Councilman O'Connell.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I was prepared to challenge the chair there, but instead I will request committee reports.
Council Lady Johnson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, Historical recommended for approval, 13 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Elrod.
Public Works recommend approval, 9 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman O'Connell.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to move approval, please.
The motion to approve is properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-991, Hastings, Vercher, and others, authorizes the acquisition of right-of-way easements, drainage easements, temporary construction easements, and property rights for purposes of the Cecilia Avenue sidewalk improvements. Councilman Hastings. There you go.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would like to call for committee reports, please.
Councilor Vercher.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Budget and Finance recommended approval, 15 for, 0 against.
Councilor Johnson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, Historical voted to recommend, 13 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Elrod.
Public Works recommend approval, 9 in favor, 0 against.
Mr. President, would like to move for approval.
Motion to approve is properly seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-992, Roberts, Vercher, and others, authorizes the acquisition of right-of-way easements, drainage easements, temporary construction easements, and property rights for purposes of the Burgess Avenue sidewalk improvements. Council Lady Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Council Lady Vercher.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Budget and Finance recommended approval, 15 for, 0 against.
And Council Lady Johnson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, Historical recommended for approval, 13 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Elrod.
Public Works recommend approval, 9 in favor, 0 against.
Council Lady Roberts.
I'd like to move for approval, please.
Motion to approve is properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-993, Vercher, Bednay, and others, authorizes the acquisition of right-of-way easements, drainage easements, temporary construction easements, and property rights for purposes of the Harding Place sidewalk improvements. Councilor Vercher.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I move for approval.
Committee reports.
Oh, sorry. Budget and Finance recommended approval, 15 for, 0 against.
Council Lady Johnson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, Historical recommended for approval, 13 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Elrod.
Public Works recommend approval, 9 in favor, 0 against.
Councilor Archer.
I move for approval.
Motion to approve is properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-994. Councilman Scott Davis. Authorized the acquisition of right-of-way easements, drainage easements, temporary construction easements, and property rights for purposes of the Delmas Avenue sidewalk improvements. Councilman Scott Davis.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to move for approval, please.
Committee reports. Councilor Archer.
I apologize, Vice Mayor.
Budget and Finance recommended approval, 15-4, 0 against.
Council Lady Mina Johnson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, Historical recommended for approval, 13 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Bednang. I'm sorry, Councilman Elrod.
Public Works recommend approval, 9 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Scott Davis.
With all committee reports in, I'd love to move for approval, please.
Motion to approve is properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-995, Councilman O'Connell. Authorized the acquisition of right-of-way easements, drainage easements, temporary construction easements, and property rights for purposes of the Herman Street sidewalk improvements. Councilman O'Connell.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to request committee reports, please.
Councilor Vercher.
Budget and Finance recommended approval, 15-4, 0 against.
Council Lady Johnson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, Historical recommended for approval, 13 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Elrod.
Public Works recommend approval, 9 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman O'Connell.
Mr. Vice Mayor, I'd like to move approval to brief comment.
Floor's yours.
On this one, the department head of Public Works noted in Public Works Committee, and my colleagues will see this as well. We have a number of sidewalks bills kind of moving through the pipeline at this point. And I can say for certain that my constituents in Hope Gardens are excited for this piece of connectivity, and I'm definitely among those who are celebrating seeing a number of these sidewalks issues move through the council with this velocity. So thank you to the Public Works Department for working so diligently, and I will say we had a process improvement overseen by their department that led to a really good community meeting and process there in Hope Gardens. So I just wanted to express my thanks for that. And with that, I will renew my motion to approve.
BL 2017, I'm sorry. There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-996, Councilman Hager. Authorized the acquisition of right-of-way easements, drainage easements, temporary construction easements, and property rights for purposes of the 9th, 11th, Brian Livingston Merritt sidewalk improvements. Councilman Hager.
Committee reports.
Councilor Vercher.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Budget and Finance recommended approval, 15-4, 0 against.
Council Lady Johnson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, Historical recommended for approval, 13 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Elrod.
Public Works recommend approval, 9 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Hager.
Move for passage.
Motion to approve is properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-997, Councilman Swope. Authorizes the acquisition of right-of-way easements, drainage easements, temporary construction easements, and property rights for purposes of the Cloverland Drive sidewalk improvements. Councilman Swope.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Committee reports,
Councilor
please.
Vercher.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Budget and Finance recommended approval, 15-4, 0 against.
Councilor Mina Johnson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, Historical are recommended for approval, 13 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Elrod.
Public Works recommend approval, 9 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Swope.
And I move approval with a brief comment.
The floor is yours.
First off, thank you to all the committees that approved this yesterday. I was unexpectedly in the hospital getting a boot and was unable to attend and forgot to write a letter. So many thanks for your approval on this. And I just want to thank Public Works for permitting this to be done. This is going to serve hundreds of families in Fredericksburg and along Cloverland. So with that said, move approval, please.
Motion to approve is properly seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-998, Councilman Syracuse. Authorized the acquisition of right-of-way easements, drainage easements, temporary construction easements, and property rights for purposes of the J.B. Estelle Drive sidewalk improvements. Did I get that right?
Pretty close.
Pretty close. Councilman Syracuse.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilor Vercher.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Budget and Finance recommended approval, 15-4, 0 against.
Council Lady Johnson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, History recommended for approval, 13 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Elrod.
Public Works recommend approval. 9 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Syracuse.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Donaldson's first complete street project. I move approval.
Motion to approve is properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-999, Councilman Elrod, authorizes the acquisition of right-of-way easements, drainage easements, temporary construction easements, and property rights for purposes of the Wofford Drive sidewalk improvements. Councilman Elrod.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilor Vercher.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Budget and Finance recommended approval, 15-4, 0 against.
Councilor Mina Johnson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, Historical recommended for approval, 13 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Elrod.
Public Works recommend approval. 9 in favor, 0 against, and I move for approval.
Motion to approve is properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-1000, Councilman Leonardo, authorized the acquisition of right-of-way easements, drainage easements, temporary construction easements, and property rights for purposes of the West Hamilton Avenue sidewalk improvements. Councilman Leonardo.
Committee reports, please.
Councilor Vercher.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Budget and Finance recommended approval, 15-4, 0 against.
Council Lady Johnson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, Historical recommended for approval, 13 in favor, 0 against.
Thank you, Councilman Elrod. I'm sorry, Councilman Elrod.
Public Works recommend approval. 9 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Leonardo.
Move approval.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-1001, Council Lady Van Reese, changes the name of a portion of Sharon Road to a Creative Way. Council Lady Van Reese.
Committee reports, please.
Council Lady Johnson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, Historical recommended for approval, 13 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Elrod.
Public Works recommend approval. 9 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Hager.
Traffic and parking approved, 5-4, 0 against.
Council Lady Van Reese.
Move approval, please.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-1002, names Frontage Road, Inspiration Boulevard. Council Lady Van Reese.
Committee reports.
Council Lady Johnson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, Historical recommended for approval, 13 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Elrod.
Public Works recommend approval. 9 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Hager.
Parking and traffic approved, 5-4, 0 against.
Council Lady Van Reese.
Move approval with a brief comment.
Floor is yours.
Thank you very much to my fellow council members for helping me go through this process of renaming these roads. This is at the grand entrance of Madison at the end of Ellington Parkway, and both Creative Way and Inspiration Boulevard further enhance the placemaking process that began when Nosy College of Art came to the area, and I appreciate your support. With that, I move approval.
There's a motion to approve. Is properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to bills on third reading. BL 2017-688, amends, Councilman Swope, amends the Metro Code to permit the construction and use of electric fences pursuant to certain standards. Councilman Swope.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. With all committee reports in, I move approval.
Motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-819, Councilman Kendall. Changes 0.49 acres from ORI to SP for properties located at 109, 111, and 113, 29th Avenue North to permit a hotel. Councilman Kendall.
I believe there's a substitute.
Let's get committee reports first. Councilor Johnson.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, Historical recommended for approval as substituted, 13 in favor, 1 against.
Thank you. I'd like to move the substitute.
There's a motion to substitute. It is properly seconded. All in favor? Yeah. Opposed? Motion carries. You're on your bill as substituted.
I'd like to move the bill as substituted with a brief comment.
Floor is yours.
Mr. Glover said he wasn't going to vote for it if I made a comment, but I'm going to make one. First of all, I want to thank everybody involved in this. Brandon Burnett has been of extreme help in this. It's been a very challenging piece of legislation. There were some residents who were opposed to it, but one of the ladies who's here tonight, Ms. Cohen, she was involved initially in this and had hired an attorney, and she's now satisfied, I think, with this substitute, which really is a substitute I think describes every rock that's going to be turned, every piece of dirt that's going to be moved. And so I want to thank, and I want you all to support this bill. Thank you.
Is there a motion to approve the substitute, the bill as substituted? Is properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Bill 2017-850, Councilman Sledge, changes 1.73 acres from R6A to SP zoning for properties located at 530, 534, and 536 Southgate Avenue to permit up to 49 multifamily units. Councilman Sledge.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I need to defer one meeting, please.
Motion to defer one meeting is properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Bill 2017-898, Councilman Swope, amends the Metro Code pertaining to electric fences.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilor Johnson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, Historical recommended for approval. 14 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Swope.
Move approval.
Motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Bill 2017-903, Councilor Vercher, amends the Metro Code pertaining to lighting. Councilor Vercher.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Have an amendment.
There's a motion to amend. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. You're on your bill as amended.
I move for approval as amended.
This motion to approve as amended. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Go to the machines. Madam Clerk, if you'd close the machine and tally votes.
24 in favor, 12 against, 1 abstain.
Motion carries. BL 2017-927, Council Lady Blaylock cancels 4.22 acres of a planned unit development overlay district for properties located at Old Hickory Boulevard, unnumbered, east of Nolensville Pike. Council Lady Blaylock.
Committee reports, please.
Council Lady Johnson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, Historical voted to recommend. 13 in favor, 0 against.
Okay, let me take the next one together. We can take them both together. BL 2017-928, Council Lady Blaylock, changes 4.22 acres from SCR to SP zoning for property located at Old Hickory Boulevard, unnumbered, east of Nolensville Pike to permit a self-service storage facility. In the committee report on that one.
Yes, Planning, Zoning, Historical also recommended for approval. 13 in favor, 0 against.
Thank you, Council Lady. Council Lady Blaylock.
Thank you. Recommend for approval, please.
This motion to approve is properly seconded. Council Lady Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Just a point of clarification. I have a note that this was deferred indefinitely. Did I write that down wrong, or is this, when did it get brought back? Okay, I mean, so I have a note that it was deferred indefinitely on 11/21. So when we bring it back, do we have to defer it one meeting, or can you explain that process?
Only if 90 days had passed.
Okay.
The point being so that you would have forgotten it by then, so it needs to be deferred so you can refresh yourself, but that period of time hasn't passed.
So within 90 days, you can just bring it back and run with it?
Correct.
Perfect. Okay, have at it.
There's a motion to approve BL 2017-927 and 928. They're properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-930, Council Lady Karen Johnson, changes 14.3 acres from AR2A to RS10 zoning for property located at 3612 Butler Road. Council Lady Karen Johnson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. With all committee reports in, I move for approval.
Motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-948, Councilman Withers, allows employment of former employees of the Nashville Career Advancement Center by contractors of Metro for employees' services terminated due to layoff. Councilman Withers.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I would like to move approval.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. Councilman Bednang.
I want to be recorded abstaining.
Thank you. Anything further, Councilman Withers?
No, sir.
This motion to approve is properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Bill 2017-949, Councilman Mendez, Vercher, and Allen, adopts the debt management policy for Metro government. Councilman Mendez.
Move approval.
No amendments.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Bill 2017-954, Councilman Elrod, authorizes the Nashville Electric Service to install, construct, and maintain underground encroachments in the right-of-way located at 911 63rd Avenue North, 488 Maya Drive, and 219 Stewart's Ferry Pike. Councilman Elrod.
Move approval, please.
Motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Bill 2017-955, Councilor Roberts, Elrod, and Bednay, abandons existing sewer main and easements and accepts new sanitary sewer and water mains, sanitary sewer manholes, and any associated easements for property located at 4908 Delaware Avenue. Councilor Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to move for approval, please.
Motion to approve is properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Bill 2017-956, Councilman Bednay and Elrod, abandons existing water main and accepts new water and sanitary sewer mains, sanitary sewer manholes, a fire hydrant, and any associated easements for properties located at 2998 Bellwood Street and 215 31st Avenue North. Councilman Bednay. Move approval. This is his bill.
Oh, yeah? Sorry. So I guess I move to approval. Sorry, Ms. Johnson.
Yep, 9:56. I'm awake. You guys all stay awake too. There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-957, Councilman O'Connell, abandons existing sewer main and easements and accepts new water main, fire hydrant, a sanitary sewer manhole, and any associated easements for property located at 415 22nd Avenue North. Councilman O'Connell.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to move approval, please.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-958, Council Lady Murphy, Bednay, and Elrod abandons existing easement rights for a former 18-inch water main easement and for 12 properties along St. Francis Avenue Park Circle, Ackland Park Drive, and Grenwood Drive. Council Lady Murphy.
I'd like to move for approval.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-959. Council Lady Roberts authorizes HR Properties of Tennessee GP to install, construct, and maintain underground encroachments in the right-of-way located at 5010 Illinois Avenue. Council Lady Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to move for approval, please.
Motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-960. Dowell, Bednay, and others authorizes a portion of Cane Ridge Road right-of-way. Council Lady Dowell.
Thank you. All committee reports are in. I move for approval.
This motion to approve is properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Council Lady Karen Johnson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Thank you for giving me this point of personal privilege. I did want to share with Southeast Nashville and Antioch that Bojangles sent a press release out, and I want to read that press release. On behalf of Bojangles, the media contact is Cliff Cermak at their corporate offices, and the media advisory is Bojangles and Nashville City Council to celebrate groundbreaking on Wednesday, December 6th, which is tomorrow. Bojangles is teaming up with us to celebrate the groundbreaking of the iconic brand's newest restaurant location. The groundbreaking ceremony will take place Wednesday, December 6th at 11 a.m. The location is 2138 Murfreesboro Pike, and dignitaries will be in attendance, which will include the Director of the Mayor's Office of Economic and Community Development, Matt Wiltshire. The restaurant is expected to open in spring of 2018. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Vercher. Briefly.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I would like to take this opportunity to remind council members of our joint CIB meeting with the planning committee on the 11th at 4 o'clock. So just want to make sure everyone gets that on their calendar.
Is there a motion to adjourn? All in favor? Opposed? You're adjourned.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.